Okay, and taking the scanner out, I had to unsolder these wires from this connector block up here, and I had a few more wires that were attached to terminals on this line box. Now, every Hammond is going to be a little bit different as far as the way that it's disconnected. The scanner itself appears to be just about the same though. What we're going to do is take these 4 nuts off that are attaching the scanner to these 2 brackets, and it should slide out. So you can kind of wrestle the thing out of there. This didn't come out too difficult. This piece just slides into that coupler, so there's no physical connection there other than the 2 pins, and so that's about it. The motor is attached to the scanner with 3 screws. 1, 2, now if you want to try to take this thing apart without hurting the threads, you pretty much have to take this pad out and kind of undo the strings, which in and itself is not going to be an easy task because the strings are very brittle. They're soaked with oil and they're all wrapped around in there, so you've got probably about a 10% chance of getting these things out without destroying them. Once the threads are loosened, it's just a matter of separating. There's probably a bunch of different ways you can do this. First thing I like to do is pop the back off. Okay, what we see here now is the rear contacts. Just be careful that you don't bend the tabs and the springs, and bang bang. There comes that. Now we can take this off. Okay. Off she comes, and that can be put aside out of the way. Now we can get into the rest of this. Now it wouldn't be a bad idea, and what I always do anytime I'm taking things apart is make a witness mark so you can put it back together again exactly the same way that you took it apart. Since we're going to be soaking this thing in solvent, I'm going to go ahead and scratch a mark there and a mark there. Now I'm going to separate the housing. This thing is really gummed up. Okay, wow, this thing is really soaked with oil. I don't know if you can see too much what's on there, but it's for sure this thing wasn't going to rust, isn't it? So here you have it. Now, this is probably why the vibrato didn't work too well on this. This is very hard to turn. Okay, and taking this thing apart, you have to remember that these screws, once you take these screws out that hold the wiring harness in place, these plates are going to all come off as well. So, once again, what I do is mark on this just to be on the safe side. You can see that it kind of starts in one spot, goes around and ends in another. So I like to call this number 1 just random. So I'm just going to put a little X mark in there. And again, I'm scratching it in there because if you do it with a Sharpie or a marker or something like that, the solvents that you use to clean it are probably going to take off the mark. So that's why I scratch it on there. So next thing we do is remove all of these. Wow, there is a lot of oil in there. Okay, so what you have, I'm just going to lay these pieces out here. This, you've got the screw, you've got the lock washer, And on the inside you have another washer, another phenolic washer. Sometimes they're a little, there we go, hesitant to come out, but look at that thing. I don't know if you can see it there, but this thing is just absolutely dripping with oil. All of this stuff is going to go in lacquer thinner so we can get rid of all of the oil. I might want to add here something that I forgot to mention is this little post here. You probably don't want to bend that up too much. What we're going to do is just take the back of this off and see if we can see what's going on inside the bearings. In order to take that out, what we have to do, unfortunately, is remove this from the shaft, and to do that it requires the use of a Bristol wrench, something that a lot of people might not have. So in a pinch, if you have a jeweler's screwdriver that can fit in the cross of there, and if that is not too tight, that will work quite satisfactory. Okay, now that we've got that removed, we need to just slide this out. Now, this should just about fall right out, and as you can see, this one is just wanting to be a booger. There we go. So, to clean this up, I'm going to take some crocus cloth or something, polish the shaft off, and that will probably be all that it'll take. I'm also going to wash this in lacquer thinner. This is a clutch, and what that does is, this is the driving gear for the scanner. If for some reason, like this, the scanner doesn't want to rotate, at least the organ will function without the use of the vibrato.